And now I'd like to transition the floor to Carolyn.
Yes, thank you. My picture here, or this slide here, is a picture of the 1985 MOVE bombing, which occurred on May 13th, 1985 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Philadelphia Police Department bombed a residential home at 6221 Osage Avenue. And for those who have lived in Philadelphia, it's a very familiar memory. This was a Black neighborhood. This was the neighborhood that I grew up in. The home was occupied by a Black Back to Nature group, MOVE, who had a history of run-ins with the police and others in the community. The Philadelphia Fire Department let the subsequent fire burn out of control following a standoff and firefight. 5 children and 6 adults were killed. 61 homes were burned to the ground over 2 city blocks. Mayor Good, the mayor at the time, later testified at a 1996 trial that he had ordered the fire to be put out, but only after the bunker had burned. The fire commissioner testified that he didn't receive the order. Ramona Africa, one of the 2 MOVE survivors from the house, said that the police had fired at those who were trying to leave the residence at the time. And so they were burned alive, those who weren't able to escape. This event, which was witnessed around the world in real time, is historically significant. And if you recall the map that I showed previously, identified as Black massacres, it is identified, it is listed as one of the events considered a massacre of Black people. William Richmond, who was the fire commissioner at the time, admitted that the water hoses were not turned on and the fires were deliberately left to burn, which is reminiscent of what Machiko talked about when she was talking about the burning of Pennsylvania Hall. Although civil damages were awarded to surviving members, no one from the city government was criminally charged in the attack, although years later, there was a public apology that was issued to the city and to MOVE members. A federal jury found that the city had used excessive force and violated the members' constitutional protections against unreasonable search and seizure. People have questioned whether it's appropriate to place this event on a map of Black massacres occurring in the US. Some take the position that because we had a Black mayor at the time in Philadelphia, Mayor Good, that, how could you have a Black massacre when you have a Black mayor? And, I often ask the question, would this have happened if, the same people, or I should say, if it was a community, a white community living up in the northeast section of Philadelphia or South Philadelphia at the time, South Philadelphia 1980 or the Northeast 1980. And I also ask, did the legacy of Mayor Rizzo, who was the mayor from 1972 to 1980, as well as the police commissioner from 68 to 71, did his legacy impact the way that MOVE was dealt with? Not to mention that his brother held the position of fire commissioner from 72 on for, I believe, maybe 12 years. But before, this event, prior to this event. So when I look at this event in history, even though it's not too long ago, I view it as both covert and overt violence toward the Black community. So I ask you to look at it within the context of, that window, and hopefully nothing like this will ever happen again.